Meanwhile, we've got some breaking news to bring you out of the Korean peninsula. North Korea launching a ballistic missile from a submarine. This, according to the South Korean Defense Ministry. Heard this just in the last hour or so. For more on what we know about this latest move by Pyongyang, let's go to our Matt Rivers, who's standing by in Seoul on the line. OK, Matt, let's start with the launch. What do you know?
Sure. Well, this happened according to the South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff around 11:30 a.m. Saturday, the local time here. Apparently, this submarine-launched ballistic missile, or SLBM for short, was launched from the seas southeast of Sinpo City. That is the eastern part. It's in a province in the eastern part of North Korea. 11:30 a.m. local time, and we are just hearing the latest information from the Joint Chiefs of Staff here. Now, they're also saying that that's really all the information they have as of this point. Too early to determine whether this test fire was a success or not. That information usually comes in relatively quickly. We usually get that information after defense officials here have time to examine their data and determine whether the test firing was a success or not. But this, of course, is just the latest in a series of provocations from North Korea, beginning, at least for this particular year, 2016, back in January, when North Korea tested a nuclear weapon. And there have been several missile tests since then. The most recent set of tests coming in late June, which were considered partial success by defense officials here. And then there was another SLBM launched in April by North Korea. That failed, according to South Korean defense officials, saying it only flew about 30 kilometers, and according to them, it needs to fly more than 300 kilometers to be considered a success. But SLBMs are a big goal of the Kim Jong-un regime. Experts would tell you that it would make an effective SLBM program, would make it harder for South Korean and United States defense officials to perhaps predict a launch or judge when a launch is going to happen, and of course would extend North Korea's strategic capability. So, Michael, just the latest, this launch, the latest in a series of provocations this year from North Korea.
Yeah, and Matt, just a little bit of context here. Of course, these launches are always controversial and normally have consequences for the North. It's interesting, in the last couple of days, the US whacking some more sanctions on North Korea, and in particular onto the leader, Kim Jong-un, and other regime figures. This is for the first time over human rights abuses. And then also in the last couple of days, we've seen the THAAD missile intercept system, the US system, South Korea agreeing to deploy that. There's going to be a lot of speculation over whether that played into the timing of this launch.
I think it's fairly safe to say that those two things happening this week, and then us seeing a test launch from North Korea on Saturday, probably is not coincidence. The North Koreans responded via their state news agency very, very negatively to those sanctions. Those human rights sanctions, they're really a first from the United States. The Treasury Department sanctioning Kim Jong-un himself. That's the first time they've done that, saying that he is a violator of human rights. Him and several dozen or so other top North Korean officials, accusing them of extrajudicial killings, forced labor, torture. And that's the first time we've really seen them named specifically like that. Largely symbolic, but still very, very unprecedented. And then you have the deployment of the THAAD system, which is this very advanced missile defense system that the United States and South Korea just yesterday announcing that they're in the final stages of deploying that. That's new. And so there's a lot for North Korea to respond to. And given what they said in state media, I don't think it's surprising this weekend then that you see them launch this SLBM. Whether it was a successful launch or not, test launch, we are still unsure at this point.
Yeah, and as you say, Matt, unlikely to be unrelated. And also that THAAD missile defense system is something that angers China, who is also annoyed at North Korea for their missile tests. So a very complex little patchwork of developments happening where you are. Matt, thanks so much. Matt Rivers there in Seoul, South Korea. And we're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back, though, with much more on